Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. I'm your host, and as a probability analyst, my whole day is basically just staring at data, trying to calculate the odds of the unknown. And, we tend to think of risk management and statistical modeling as these distinctly modern fields, right? Stuff born out of Wall Street or Silicon Valley. But actually, the truth is that the ancient world grappled with the exact same dilemmas. Long before computers could run Monte Carlo simulations, the ancient sages of the Talmud were developing highly sophisticated legal frameworks to handle the fundamental impossibility of absolute certainty. So today, we're going to look specifically at Tractate Chullin, DAF's 11a, to see exactly how the ancient courts mathematically engineered a functional society based entirely on the probabilities of the unknown. Okay, let's dive right into this because the Talmud starts with a classic, quantifiable dataset. Imagine you find a piece of meat on a street. You have no idea where it came from, but on this specific street, there are 10 meat shops. 9 of those shops sell strictly kosher meat, and 1 shop sells non-kosher meat. So what's the halakhic status of the meat you just found? Well, the Gemara establishes the biblical rule of following the majority. Derived from Exodus, the directive is literally after the majority to incline. In this case, with a 90% probability, you follow the empirical data. You deem the piece of meat kosher. And that brings us to a really foundational concept known as Rubba. Rubba is simply the halakhic and statistical principle of following the greater part, or the highest probability. Now, making legal decisions is relatively easy when you have a clear countable data set right in front of you, 9 shops versus 1 shop, or say 3 judges voting one way, 2 voting the other. You count the variables and the math tells you exactly what to do. But what happens when you literally can't count the variables? Now, what's really interesting about this is the massive paradigm shift the Gemara introduces here. The sages pivot away from a quantifiable majority, like our 10 shops, to a non-quantifiable majority. This is where we have to rely on statistical baselines. For example, if a minor boy and a minor girl enter into a levirate marriage, there's a possibility they may never develop sexually, which would obviously complicate the union. But the sages rule we follow the unquantifiable majority, which is the statistical baseline that most minors will develop normally. We rely entirely on the baseline health of an unexamined variable. But think about that for a second. This raises a profound legal dilemma. How does the law justify ruling on the unseen and the entirely unquantifiable? Where does the legal authority to rely on a purely statistical baseline even come from when physical verification is strictly impossible? The sages of the Talmud couldn't just assume this was okay. They needed hard textual proof that biblical law inherently operates on probability models. And so begins this incredible, escalating search for proof. Section 1. Rapid-fire proofs. The sacrificial data set. I want you to treat these next ancient texts as crucial data points. They're basically case studies proving a reliance on probability. Let's look at the anatomical evidence. Rabbi Elazar points to the burnt offering. The rules state you must cut the animal into pieces, but you absolutely cannot cut the head into smaller pieces. So how do we know the brain membrane wasn't perforated, which would invalidate the entire sacrifice? We don't. We can't examine it. Mar, son of Ravina, points to the paschal lamb. The biblical law strictly forbids breaking a bone, so again, we cannot check the brain. Rav Nachman brings up the peace offering, where the tail must remain totally intact, meaning we can't verify the health of the spinal cord. In all of these cases, anatomical examination was legally forbidden by the limiting factors of the text itself. The law forces us to rely on the statistical baseline that the animal is healthy. And this brilliantly illustrates how the proofs escalate. Rav Sheshet points to the heifer whose neck is broken to atone for an unsolved murder. Rabba bar Rav Shila points to the red heifer, which must be burned entirely whole. And Rav Acha bar Yaakov brings what is arguably the ultimate proof, the scapegoat of Yom Kippur. This goat is cast alive off a steep cliff. As the text notes, it didn't even reach halfway down the mountain before being torn limb from limb. The physical evidence is completely and utterly destroyed. There's literally no way to verify its internal health beforehand or afterward. The system absolutely necessitates risk assessment. Throughout all these sacrificial proofs, the sages are dealing with one specific hidden variable: the fear that the animal might be a Terefa. A Terefa is a terminally ill or mortally wounded animal, or person, projected to die within 12 months. A Terefa is halachically unfit. This is the ultimate hidden variable that could totally upend the entire legal system if probability wasn't applied. We simply must assume the animal is not a Terefa, based on the overwhelming statistical majority of healthy animals. But here is where the Gemara drastically raises the stakes. We're pivoting the narrative from animal sacrifices to human law. This is the ultimate high-stakes stress test for these probability models.
We aren't just talking about a disqualified sacrifice anymore. We are asking, how can a court execute a human being without absolute physical certainty of the underlying facts? Section 2. Rapid-fire proofs human law.
Let's move to this next set of proofs and see how this builds, because the narrative momentum really ramps up in the human courtroom, especially in life-or-death scenarios governed by the exact same mathematics of the unknown. Rav Ashi looks at the law regarding a son who strikes his father, which is a capital offense. But wait, before DNA testing, how could a court know with absolute certainty who the biological father even is? Well, they rely on the statistical presumption that the majority of a married woman's relations are with her husband. Rav Kana looks at murder. If someone kills a person who was already a Terefa, terminally ill, they might actually be exempt from execution. To absolutely verify the victim wasn't a Terefa, we'd have to autopsy and mutilate the victim's corpse, which is forbidden. So we rely on the baseline presumption of health. Ravina applies this exact same logic to conspiring witnesses whose false testimony is punishable by death. We must presume the falsely accused was healthy. We rely on the baseline.
As an analyst, though, this is where I have to pause the rapid-fire momentum and ask the critical question. How do they actually know the hidden reality doesn't defy the odds? What if the baseline probability is simply wrong in a specific life or death case? What if the victim was that 1 in a million Terefa? It's the anxiety that haunts every single statistician, the outlier. Section 3. The verification principle. So, the crucial point is right here. This brings us to the intellectual climax of the investigation. Rav Ashi synthesizes all this rapid-fire data to address those minority opinions, and he distills everything into a single, elegant legal theorem. Where it is possible to examine the situation, the majority is not followed. Where it is not possible to examine the situation, the majority is followed. It essentially operates like a fundamental law of physics for risk management. Think about it. If you have the ability to physically verify the data, if you can look at the animal's throat or count the kosher shops, you cannot just blindly trust the math. You absolutely must examine the reality in front of you. But where physical verification hits a wall, whether due to physical impossibility or legal restrictions like not mutilating a corpse, that is where the probability model takes over. This explainer reveals something deeply profound about how we structure our world. The sages of the ancient Talmud understood perfectly that a legal system paralyzed by the demand for absolute certainty is no legal system at all. It would completely collapse. By distinguishing between the quantifiable majority and the unquantifiable baseline, they prove that society functions on the mathematics of the unknown. They engineered ancient laws using the exact same risk assessments we use to navigate our lives today. So I'll leave you with this. The next time you make a decision based on a reasonable assumption, ask yourself, are you following the data or are you just trusting the baseline?